They called her a wild dog. To the settlers, she was nothing but a ragged creature who crept from the shadows when hunger gnawed too deeply at her ribs. She was small, perhaps 8 or 9, but it was hard to know for sure. Dirt clung to her skin like a second coat, her tangled hair hung in knots, and her sharp eyes flashed with the instinct of survival. They said she had no family, that she was abandoned, that she scavenged like a stray coyote. When she appeared near the edge of town, whispers followed her like the wind that stirred the dust. Women clutched their baskets tighter. Children stared but were pulled quickly away. Men muttered that she was trouble, too wild to be tamed, and better run off before she learned to steal from their stores. But hunger is stronger than pride. Hunger pushed her to the refuse heaps behind the baker's shop, to the bones tossed outside the butcher's door. Hunger kept her prowling at night, barefoot and quiet, skirting fences like a shadow. The settlers had names for her: wild dog, little thief, cursed child. Not one of them looked into her eyes and saw what she truly was, a child lost, alone, and afraid. One evening, when the desert air grew sharp with night's chill, she crept to the edge of a camp outside town. A fire glowed there, low and steady, the smoke rising in a thin ribbon toward the stars. Around it sat an Apache man, older, his face carved with lines of age and sun, yet steady with patience. His long black hair was tied back with a strip of leather, and his dark eyes were deep wells of quiet strength. He had hunted that day, and now he ate from his plate, bread torn in rough pieces, meat roasted over the flames. The girl crouched at the edge of the shadows, knees pulled tightly to her chest. Her eyes fixed on every bite he took, the sharp pangs of hunger twisting her insides. She had been watching for a long time, waiting for him to toss scraps like others did. But he did not toss anything. He ate slowly, deliberately, each movement unhurried. He seemed to know she was there, though he never turned his gaze toward her. The settlers would have chased her away. Some would have thrown stones. Others would have cursed her for daring to come near. But the Apache man did something different. Slowly, without speaking, he tore a piece of bread and placed it on his plate. Then he set the plate on the ground between himself and the shadows, just far enough that she could reach it if she dared. And then, as if she mattered no more to him than the wind, he turned back to his food and gazed into the fire. The girl froze, her heart pounding in her chest. Was it a trick? A trap? No one had ever left food for her without chasing her afterward. She crept closer on all fours, her movements quick and wary. The firelight flickered against her face, revealing her hollow cheeks and the dirt smeared across them. With the swiftness of a coyote, she grabbed the bread and darted back into the dark. She devoured it, her teeth tearing the soft piece as though afraid it would vanish. The taste was plain, but to her it was a feast. When she glanced back at him, he hadn't moved. His gaze was still on the fire, his expression unchanged. It was as though he hadn't even noticed. Her hunger stirred again. Her eyes returned to the food in his hands. He broke another piece, set it on the plate, and slid it gently toward her. This time she hesitated less. She crept forward, snatched it, and pulled back, though not as far as before. She chewed slower, watching him through the strands of hair that fell across her face. The fire popped, sending sparks upward into the night. Coyotes howled in the distance. The Apache man tore another piece of meat, placed it on the plate, and nudged it forward. She waited longer this time, her suspicion warring with her need. Finally, she reached for it, her fingers trembling. When she bit into the meat, her eyes closed, savoring warmth and strength she had nearly forgotten food could give. For the first time, she stayed near the edge of the firelight, not vanishing back into the black. He glanced at her once, not long, just enough to let her know he saw her. His face held no scorn, no amusement, only a calm acknowledgement. She expected him to speak, to demand something of her, but he said nothing. Silence wrapped around them, filled only by the crackle of wood and the soft sound of chewing. That night, she did not run. She sat, curled tight, but closer to the fire than before. The Apache man ate in his slow way, and when he was done, he leaned back, eyes on the stars. She watched him until her eyelids grew heavy, then slipped away before dawn, back into the shadows that had been her home. The next night, she returned. The fire was burning again, and the man was there, just as before. Again, he broke bread and left it for her. Again, she accepted. This time, she did not dart away but sat a little nearer, the warmth of the flames kissing her skin. She could feel the hunger easing from her bones, replaced by something strange, safety. Night after night, the ritual repeated. He would eat, she would watch, and he would place food where she could reach. Each time, she lingered longer. She began to sit cross-legged, imitating his posture. She chewed slower, matching his rhythm. The silence between them grew comfortable, as though it was its own language. She began to glance at his face, searching for signs, approval, disapproval, anything. But he remained as calm as the desert itself, never rushing her, never pushing her away. One evening, after many nights, she surprised herself by speaking. Her voice was hoarse, unused, like wind over dry grass. She whispered a single word, so quiet it nearly vanished in the crackle of the fire. He did not answer, did not even look at her, but she thought she saw the faintest flicker of warmth in his eyes. It was enough to keep her coming back. The settlers still called her a wild dog. They did not know about the fire, about the Apache who shared his plate. To them, she was the same ragged child prowling in the shadows, unfit for their world. But in the circle of firelight, she was no longer an outcast. She was simply a child, hungry and seen. Weeks passed. Her face began to lose its sharpness. Her eyes, once hard and narrow, grew softer when the firelight touched them. Her body, once hunched and defensive, began to relax when she sat beside him. She still did not speak much, but she no longer needed to. The act of sharing bread and meat was louder than words. One night, the fire burned brighter than usual. She sat close enough that the warmth soaked into her skin. The Apache man tore a piece of bread, placed it on the plate, and then did something he had never done before. He pushed the plate not toward her, but between them, directly in the center, as though it belonged to both. She hesitated, staring at the plate, then at him. His gaze remained fixed on the flames, patient as ever. Slowly, she reached out, took a piece, and began to eat. For the first time, they shared a plate. It was not a ceremony, not a story the settlers would tell. But in that quiet moment, something shifted. The girl was no longer only a shadow at the edge of the fire. She was part of it. The desert is a place of harshness, of survival, of loneliness. But it is also a place of patience, of bonds forged in silence. The Apache man had seen not a wild dog, but a child who had been left without a place. He had given her food, but more than that, he had given her belonging. Sometimes, it takes nothing more than sitting, breaking bread, and sharing your plate to remind someone they are not alone. So when they called her a wild dog, they were wrong. She was a child of the earth. In the night the Apache shared his plate, she was seen for the first time.